I know what it's like when you're a content creator, and whether you're doing it and you're just getting into it or you've been doing it for a little while, but you've got this constant battle with whether you should choose a camera which is more budget friendly or go for something which is more high end that kind of grows with you, because then at that point you're trying to figure out whether the extra cost is actually worth it in the long run. And you know, this is something that a lot of creators face. I think most creators face this. And over the years, throughout buying different pieces of camera gear and just buying different cameras, I figured out a way to make the process a lot easier. Because even when I come to buy or upgrade a camera that I have, I go through this process myself. So to really nail down my choice, I knew that there were certain factors that I had to take into consideration. And so I came up with 3 kind of really essential questions that I'd ask myself, which would help me decide and help me get to a point where I didn't just end up with buyer's remorse. Have a good day. It suddenly just got very busy with a lot of people. It was really quiet a second ago and now there's loads of people here. But it's really pretty around here. I just got to Old Town, so I'm just going to have a little walk around, just explore really. So one of the first questions that I tend to ask myself when I'm trying to decide what camera to buy really helps me to narrow down my choices, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because the less choice you have, the easier it is to make a decision, right? And so this comes down to budget, and I'm just really honest with myself about what my budget is, and I'll have something that's completely fixed, and I'll try not to flip-flop and try not to think, oh, maybe I could just spend that little bit extra, and just really fixate on a budget so that I can narrow down and just get rid of a lot of choice to make it easy for myself. So if you do have a fixed budget and it's kind of on the lower end, which would kind of put you in the budget friendly sphere, then that's not necessarily a bad thing either, because low budget cameras today are incredibly capable with what they can do, and the quality is going to be pretty decent in a lot of those cameras. So you don't necessarily have to feel like you're limiting yourself with a budget camera. And having something that's more expensive doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be better for you anyway, once you start to balance out quality versus functionality and all that kind of stuff, which leads me on to the next part. So the next question to ask yourself comes down to what you're going to be filming and what you're going to be using the camera for, and just really having an idea of the kind of content that you're going to be creating, because the kind of camera that you get is going to depend on that, based on the features that you're going to need for that camera in terms of what you're going to be shooting. I've got a little friend. So if you're the kind of person that does a lot of vlogs where you're walking around, you're outdoors, then having a camera that has good stabilization, for example, is a feature that you're probably going to want to pay attention to. As well as if you're filming by yourself, then having something that has a flip out screen is also going to be a key feature for you, and having something that has really good autofocus so that you don't have to worry about trying to get the focus right. When you're filming by yourself, you've got no one else to check these things for you. So thinking about features like this is going to be really important based on the camera that you want to get. However, if you're going to be doing sit down talking head videos, you're not really going to be moving around, you're probably going to be indoors as well, then stabilization is something that's not really going to matter to you very much. And what you probably want to focus on more is having something that has really good low light capabilities. Even if you were to set up lights, then having something that still does well in low light is going to give you better image quality. So again, balancing out what you're going to be using the camera for, and based on the features that you're going to be looking for the camera, is really also going to help you narrow down your choices as well. There are so many filming scenarios, so it's really difficult to try and list everything out in this video. So if you have an idea of what you're going to be filming and you're not sure what kind of features you're looking for, just drop a comment and I'll give you a little bit of help and a little bit of advice, just to help you try and figure out what to look for in the camera that you're buying. The other thing to consider is also how you see your skills developing, and whether you see this as being like YouTube being something that you do long term, and whether the camera that you have has room to grow with you. So you might pick something which has less specs and less features, but it could still do you for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Or you could end up picking something that doesn't quite give you the room to grow. So a great example of this would be if you felt at some point you did actually want to learn to color grade to make your footage look a certain way, then you'd want to prioritize a camera that gives you the flexibility to be able to do that and still gives you a good quality image without compromising on the specs in that respect. So again, it's just about thinking about not just now but later on as well, based on where you think your channel will go and what you're potentially going to be wanting to develop with your skills later on. So in terms of the third question, the first time I ever started looking for cameras, I was always obsessed with having something that was going to give me the best quality footage possible. I always strive to have high quality footage. And the other thing is, I also don't like to faff around whilst I'm shooting videos. So I always want to find something which is going to be as quick as possible for me to set up and use without having to change lots of things. And so I have to ask myself whether having something that has the best quality footage would outweigh something that was an absolute breeze to use. And that's a question that you also need to ask yourself as well, because this is going to differ for a lot of people. So I know I mentioned budget and how if you have something that is pretty fixed to just kind of stick with it, but I would kind of counter that and say that if you value your time more than anything and you want something which is going to enable you to save time by just getting up and filming as quickly as possible, and just having something which is also just going to make your life easier and make the whole process of creating videos more enjoyable because you don't have to fiddle around with loads of complex settings, then that for me is something that I would pay a little bit extra for, even if it meant I had to save up a little bit more, like in time wise, in order just to get that camera that was just going to be a complete and utter joy to use. So I think again, this is just something that this is going to differ for a lot of people, because there are some people that would think, no, I absolutely want to save as much money as possible. It doesn't matter if I have to spend more time doing something, but I am the opposite. So I think it's just figuring out where you sit on that scale and figuring that out for you. But like I said earlier, if this is all a little bit much and you're not quite sure what features you're going to need based on the camera that you're looking at and based on what you're going to be filming, then do just drop me a comment and I'll try and help you out.